Welcome to Clever Orbits, your favorite Star Trek podcast, especially if you've been listening to it for the past, 6 months we've been producing it. I am one of your hosts, Louis Brandmeier, followed and joined by...
Richard Petrell.
And Tyler Brandmeier.
I'm in an airport, which is why you may be hearing some lovely background noise from humans and things in the background. We're going to be talking about Into the Forest I Go, the fall finale, which is kind of a weird concept, but I think okay, of the first season of Star Trek Discovery. So, initial thoughts, guys.
It's a lot of fun.
Pretty cool. Sort of realizes the potential of the series and the concept. You could really see it all coming together in this episode.
Yeah, it looks like they're about to do a lot more discovering.
It does. It's like they're starting a whole new plot halfway through the season.
Yeah, which I have some really strong, clear ideas on the nature of. But I really loved it. It was my favorite of the series so far. It was I think, the most effective, the most well done, the most tightly plotted, well written, well acted. Really beautiful at times, a lot of times, especially with the pathos that you get with Ash Tyler and then also with Burnham to a little bit of an extent, but most of all with Stamets. Like, he was the standout. I think he's one of the standouts of the whole season. I was really impressed. In fact, all right, guys, the jig is up. I'm just going to let you guys know what I think. This was a 10 out of 10, and I decided that before the episode was half over. Like, I was just, so overcome and, hit by the emotion of this and the depth of the characters and then the satisfaction of the plot. They gave us exactly what we wanted. I mean, with that whole piece in the middle where we destroy the Klingon ship and we find out the cloaking thing and Stamets does his thing to, serve the crew. And anyway, that's maybe a little early to be given an actual number to it. But, Oh, first of all, we should say the quote is from John Muir, who was kind of a woodsman. He says, "And into the forest I go to lose my mind and find my soul." That's what they're quoting there. And of course, Stamets almost explicitly references this. He says something about a forest. It wasn't that clear what he said. Did you guys get that thing when he was, in the middle of the 138 jumps or whatever? I
didn't make it out.
Yeah, I'm really curious what happens to him. What did you guys think about him?
I think he had a real emotional roller coaster in this. He started that, and then Lorca revealed that he's actually been cation stated, and then he was really happy about that. And, then he was grateful, and he was going to get an award, and said he would do an extra jump, and then I don't know.
Yeah, but Lorca rarely ever doesn't have an ulterior motive. He could have been collecting that data for other more nefarious purposes. Which would lead us into a really cool theory that I've been seeing pop up all over the place since the episode aired about Lorca. But as far as Stamets goes, I got to agree with you, Louis. I love his character, and besides Tilly, he's one of my favorites. But in this episode, you can really
see his heart.
Yeah, you really see it pretty much worn everywhere, and we're getting hints of this so-called reckoning with Stamets' personality and how his physical existence is being affected by each and every jump. So we're finally seeing shades of that and what's going to happen.
Yeah, that thing with his eyes is cool.
It's becoming clear why the jump drive is going to be out in the future and possibly classified.
Yeah, it's horrific in the effects that it has. Well, we don't know that it's horrific yet. We just know that it's doing something probably bad to him.
I mean, if you look at the crew of the ship where the experiment went awry and they were all just anatomically inverted, that's proof enough right there.
The nadir of what's possible in Star Trek is what happens to people when they enter the expanse, the Delphic expanse, when they're anatomically inverted, which really is equivalent to that scene in Galaxy Quest where they say they turned inside out and they exploded.
Oh, man. Digital converters were they could do so much more, couldn't they? Otherwise, or maybe that was just an experiment gone wrong with an early transporter phase, and digital converters are pretty primitive.
Speaking of converters, the transporter scene was pretty cool. It was really neat to see her transported mid-jump.
Does anyone notice that everyone's crouching with their phasers pointed now?
Yeah.
But that's like the
that's
standard
how they work
thing.
now. I mean, that's how they beam now. They did that in the pilot too.
That's right. And in the Abrams Treks. And
The what?
You know, the Abrams verse, the new Star Trek, 2009
Oh,
Star Trek.
Yeah. Somebody jokes that it would be really funny. So let's jump ahead a little bit. At the end, they're in a, I think, different part of space or a different universe. It's unclear. We don't know yet. We know they're surrounded by Klingon debris, so probably a different universe. And somebody joked that it would be really silly and funny if they just ended up in the Kelvin timeline. This was from Penske Files. I was like, yeah, that would be funny. I think it's the Mirror Universe. We know that Jonathan Frakes worked on the Mirror Universe episodes. We know that there are Mirror Universe episodes. There's every reason to believe that one of the alternate universes that Lorca was mentioning was the Mirror Universe. It's popular with Star Trek fans. So what I think would be cool is if the rest of the series, or like the first season or whatever, was like Star Trek Sliders, where they keep going to different universes where everything's different.
Hey.
That would be cool. I would watch a whole series of that.
Yeah.
I actually read some rumors online on some forum that someone claimed that there was a leaked plot, and it was just that. That was back in around the third episode that I saw that leaked plot. And I figured since it didn't happen for all these episodes, I figured, it was just some message board rumor. But now it turns out there might be something to it. And they were saying that, yes, the rest of the main plot of the season is them trying to get home through these several different universes that they're trapped in. I don't know, though. Maybe it's just the universe and there'll be a Mirror Universe episode in the next episode, then they'll get back in one episode.
Yeah.
It would be a little surprising if they spent half the season on the Klingon war plot and then half the season on a parallel universe plot, and like the writers couldn't decide which one they wanted to do, so they decided to split the season. That'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah, they did say that the Klingon war arc would wrap up before the end of the season.
We might have seen it.
Which, like, when you really think about it, why are these writers saying these things? Like,
right. Why are they giving this away?
Spoiling their plot.
Why did they spoil the hell out of the Mirror Universe?
Somebody's selling you a book and being like, hey, guess what happens in Chapter 8? That character dies. And you're like, I just started the book, man.
No, it's more like those drive-bys for people waiting in line to get the 7th Harry Potter book, or like Snape kills Dumbledore. Now I just spoiled it myself for anyone who hasn't read the book. So that's how bad it is.
Yeah. So anyway, there's a lot of interesting theories about where they are. There's another interesting theory about like why they are where they are and what actually happened near the end. I remember vividly that Lorca changed the spore drive coordinates, which was actually really cool because like we're in the modern age, and of course his little control pad is very much like the touch screen of an iPhone, where like all you do is you play with the apps until you get to the function that you're looking to shift. And I mean, like, I think that's
what it's like to be a captain. It's like doing apps.
Yeah, I mean, the captain has the ability to instantaneously and effortlessly micromanage every function on the ship in order to tune it to his precise will and intention, which is cool.
Do you think he organizes it into folders?
No. I think it's organized the way that we saw it. I think it was pretty specifically organized.
Anyway, I just thought he was typing in the coordinates. I didn't know that he was changing something.
Well, it did say override.
Oh.
Yeah.
Captain Lorca override. So he overrode something. We just don't know what.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Because like earlier in the episode when he gives that speech about how we're going to go to warp speed to get to the starbase instead of jumping, and we're going to tell them this whole story, and we're going to have a paper trail, like it's very Kirk-like. It's very like Kirk knows what's best, and so he does what's best by like obfuscating Starfleet, or at least Kirk in Into Darkness, right? When he says, "All right, Admiral, I'll give you con," and then whatever you do, don't take the shields down. It's the next thing out of his mouth. And so, like, you know, there's this sense of like him subverting the authority of Starfleet for the sake of the higher good, and that's pretty cool. And I thought, you know, Lorca was like that, but at the very end, there's this moment when it seems like he's doing what he does, which is to actually subvert everybody for his own will and intention. And, like, maybe that's what he's doing, maybe not. Maybe it makes sense of him because he's from the Mirror Universe, and this whole time he was a plant to get this ship into the Mirror Universe, and Burnham, like, has to take over the ship in order to fight Lorca or something. And meanwhile, Stamets has, like, Yeah, Saru. But, everybody knows Saru's going to get brutally murdered somehow.
Good God, I hope not.
That would be the worst.
Ganglia are going to go up, and then he's going to die.
Worse if he gets chased down and eaten.
Has to do
He
so
has to
much
run really fast through the ship. He gets chased by predators. Like, there's an actual predator.
On the topic, though, of Lorca's plan to disobey orders, so the plan was they were going to do warp drive away and say they couldn't do the spore drive, but then they're going to have to get back to Pavo to fight, which they're going to do with the spore drive, right? So how are they going to explain that?
Like, oh, we lied, right?
I don't think his plan is really thought through.
I think he counted on the fact that they were just going to win. So, hence, hey, Legion of Honor, here, have this medal. You did great, even though you did what we told you not to.
I did like the thing about that Legion of Honor medal. And I did like how the not Tuvok, he's got some name, but I just don't care. Not Tuvok.
Tuvok. Not
Nuvok. New Tuvok.
Like really pissed initially and was like really stern and like, you're going to do this. And then like at the end, he disobeyed orders and like wins all the accolades and like wins an award. And the Admiral's just like, okay. I mean, like there's no repercussions. There's no consternation. It's just like, all right.
Yeah, well, we'll see. Maybe the award ceremony is going to come with a bit of a gentle reprimand.
Oh, maybe they want to lure him into taking his command away.
Yeah. Maybe they said, yeah, we're going to give you an award.
Yeah.
But now that
the
you're
award
here,
is 7 life sentences.
Yeah. The Legion of Honor is actually a prison cell for the rest of your life. So
you are pummeled by a Legion of Honor. So there were a lot of great things about this. Real quick, the pacing and the characterization were great. The new cloaking effect. Who else thought that was beautiful and strange and interesting? The green sort of misty stuff.
I liked it. The invisibility screen.
Yeah, the invisibility screen, quote unquote. Yeah, it was pretty. Kind of reminded me of the cloak from Shinzon's ship from Nemesis.
Yeah, it kind of takes its time when it decloaks. But let's see. It was a deliberateness about each scene. It's like the writers pull out all the stops in terms of making this cinematic in its import and expression. Like there was a real feel of like this is a tightly woven, well-plotted film. That was my experience of it. And it reminded me of the 2009 Kelvin Timeline Trek film, which, by the way, I still think is one of the best Star Trek films. Like, it was different than the Trek before it, but, like, these are production values and plotting and writing worthy of Star Trek. And so, anyway, then there was the fact that it shifted and paced so suddenly. I mean, this is kind of like the other shoe of the fact that the first half of the episode, well, the first 2/3 of the episode was so well plotted and tightly woven that, like, you had this whole, like, extra third that, like, all right, what do we do with it? Well, we slow down, and we get Tyler talking to Burnham, talking to L'Rell, which we should talk about that, too. But I'll get that in just a second. I thought the discovery, actually, Tyler, you can tell me what you think on this, but I think it was actually better than the Star Furies in Babylon 5, which isn't hard to do, but, like, in terms of elegance in moves for a battle, was just really, really beautiful. It was really well done.
Well, that only seems that way because of the existence of the spore drive itself. That ship doesn't really maneuver as elegantly or is designed to maneuver as elegantly as like a Star Fury, I don't think. The spore drive really puts it over the edge. Otherwise, it's just a Federation ship. It just moves and shoots and acts at the speed of a Federation vessel. Yeah,
you're right. They're still calibrating to this being the TOS era and Enterprise and all that. Some other stuff. So I was worried about the shift in pace 2/3 of the way through, but it was complemented by slowness and depth of characterization and conversation. Like, and that was a really great counterpoint. It was really enjoyable. It was really perfect. I felt like it really showcased the modes of the show.
I felt like after the Klingon ship exploded, I was expecting the credits to roll, and then there was many more scenes, so that was nice. And by the way, that was a very good explosion.
I also really like that Lorca treated his eyes so that he could see
right before. Yeah, that was my favorite part of that.
That was a good badass move. And then he was walking away from the explosion like in an action movie.
Let's see. There's no reason this can't be the mirror universe, by the way, that they're in. Just because Kirk and company didn't know about it didn't mean it was unknown to Starfleet. I mean, in fact, well, no, Enterprise, we never saw Enterprise learn about it. The end was
maybe
awesome.
Discovery is not going to make it back. Maybe it's only going to be like Michael Burnham in a shuttlecraft.
And no one's going to believe her.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to think she's just insane or something.
Yeah. It'll be like movie tech.
Right.
Let's see. I like that they're basically Voyager now. I mean, I really think it would be cool if they didn't solve it quickly and they went the sliders route. Like, I mean, maybe that, and again, maybe that's why all knowledge of Discovery was lost. It's because it was just destroyed or something. And, also we know that the Klingon War ends with the Organians or, well, I don't know. There's like a treaty. They need to make a treaty. So the Klingon War clearly isn't over. I liked there was another pass of the Bechdel test. You had two female characters discussing something other than men with Cornwell and Burnham. I liked the whole situation with Tyler where he really does have PTSD or
so let's talk about Tyler. This is the part of the episode that I think didn't really work for me, and it's that we've been led to believe that Tyler, there's something suspicious about him. He's like a spy. Maybe he's Vok. Maybe he was surgically altered. Are those flashbacks? Are those torture? Or are those him being surgically altered? In that scene where he's crying to Burnham and telling his story, I didn't know if I was supposed to feel sympathy or suspicion. Like they've set him up to be a spy and it's super nuanced and secret, but should I now feel sympathy for him? I felt like I was in a quantum superposition of different states about how to react.
Right,
I didn't know what the actors were going for. I didn't know what they're. Yeah. So I feel like it's like they're trying to do this subtle, nuanced plot, and I think the writers are not up to this part of it. It was just I just was confused at the end of that part.
Subtle. It's almost too nuanced, right?
I think it's too nuanced for these writers.
And I think so. What's cool is like. This is big, narratively, for Trek to deal so vividly with sexual assault and then to deal with it from the perspective of a man who's been sexually assaulted. Like,
Is that what it was, though? Maybe he's Vulcan. She was just continuing relations with him.
Right.
Well, so, I mean, there's also the possibility that he wasn't Vok when she was assaulting him, so that he would actually have PTSD and would have an actual explanation. And I think Ash Tyler is a real person, even if he is a sleeper.
No, I think that L'Rell was using Klingon blood magic on him or something slowly to like put Vox Katra into him or something like that.
Wait, what species are we talking about here?
There might be an analog, right? Yeah.
Maybe.
To the Vulcan way of doing that. I think so. Okay, either he was Vok, and then he was implanted with all the memories of Ash Tyler, and like horrific surgery was done to make him Ash Tyler, or he was, all that happened, and then he was implanted with memories of PTSD. I mean, there are a lot of complicated things.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, and all that stuff is making me unable to appreciate his, emotional moment. I just don't know how I'm supposed to react to this man.
Tell me what to feel. Yeah, I think so. I don't even know that. We don't even necessarily know that he was Vok, right? Because at the end,
no, I think he wasn't.
What did you do to me?
I think it's blood magic.
Well, and then she says soon, right?
Yeah.
Leaving us in
like
doubt.
She's going to activate the Vok she implanted into his brain.
Well, she's either going to activate him or like maybe she's still playing with power relating to him. Maybe she's just a captor who like horrifically tortured him and like knows that she's got power because she established that power dynamic, and so soon is just her way of like worming her way into his consciousness again. I mean, because he could.
It can't be just that. I mean, what happened to Vok then?
Well, I mean, so here's two things about this show.
We've been seeing the Klingons do things. Yeah. Go ahead.
Things. Vok may have just disappeared. You know how they showed Stamets look in the mirror, and it was creepy, and it was weird, and it was interesting.
Yeah.
And then they
do drop threads on this show. It's true. That's another writing issue.
They dropped those threads. I think they're too smart to have dropped them. But at this point in the game, we're just kind of like, did you drop them? Where'd they go? So, I mean, it's possible. I don't think it's plausible, and I really don't want it to be true. But anyway, so I liked – well, did you guys have more to say about that? I liked how Lorca inspires Stamets, which may have just been a manipulation. Like, I think he knows what's going on with Stamets and using it to his advantage and maybe even manipulating him to take that last jump through reverse psychology.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was unclear on why Stamets offered to do the last jump. I thought that maybe Stamets was the one who was planning to get him into some other universe.
You think he's like Gary Mitchell now? I mean, with the white eyes, he's already turned into some kind of super being who's manipulating everybody around him. Which would be kind of
preview.
If Lorca and Stamets are both like thinking that they're manipulating each other, and neither of them is actually true. That would be really cool if Lorca is actually working for someone bad, like Section 31 or the Klingon or whatever, and then Stamets is just insane or evolved super being or something, like, and then Burnham's got to figure out how to deal with everything, and then Tyler's a sleeper agent. I mean, if all three of those were true, you've got the plot of like 4 episodes. We're good. And then they start to encounter mirror universe people. That's great. I want to see that.
This is quite a working environment on this ship.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of terrible.
What happened to those black badge troopers that were stationed outside of...
That's
we
another
don't
drop
see them
thread.
anymore. Yeah.
They went to lunch. Lorca was like, all right, guys, we don't need you anymore. We're good. Have some fun. Take some time off. Take a sabbatical.
For 6 episodes? For most of the war so far?
It's been months. Well, maybe we just haven't walked by that one area of the ship where they are, you know?
I mean, they must have been guarding the spore stuff, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Was that the only experiment they were focusing on?
They had more experiments, I think. So, all right, there are some quotes on this episode that I want to go through. One is from Zach Handlin at the AV Club. He says, when the show hits its marks, it's fun to just go along for the ride without asking too many questions. And, like, I was totally all about that. I still am. I don't think there's anything glaring enough in the plot for me to be worried about, or the characterization or whatever. I mean, sure, you can nitpick and ask questions, and people have, but whatever. And then he also says, as for the crew of the Discovery, this is hilarious, as for the crew of the Discovery, the big project to use sensors to find the cloaked Klingon ship is one of the first times that it's felt like everyone has come together for a clear purpose. Then he says, using the magic of science to kill a bunch of aliens.
That's truly the spirit of Star Trek.
Yeah, it's kind of, I mean, ethically ambiguous. But then we get Catherine Trendacosta. She said, man, I wish this season had been about a science ship press-ganged into a war effort with a new hawkish captain and about both sides learning the value of each other. Wouldn't that have been interesting? And, like, you kind of get that. You get him saying, I came on board and you guys were polite scientists. And, like, you have been turned into warriors. And then Saru has this, like, moment of sort of semi-pride. And you're kind of like, we didn't really see that, but
no, we didn't see that happen.
Like, this sounds like a 5-season speech, not a first-season speech.
I mean, that is one criticism Clay makes on the Penske Files. It's like everything happens so fast. I mean, like, we don't get to see much development. And Richard, this is basically what you said on Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. Like, we didn't see the development of that plan. So, I mean, I agree with that. There's a lot of density and a lot of speed and a lot of intensity that could be unpacked. I mean, like, I would watch a show that were slower. I mean, maybe they're pulling out all the stops because they're like, what can we do with this first season? And we really need to show everybody that we can do a lot of stuff in order to make them, and maybe it'll be slower and more deliberate and more nuanced. You know, like all these really well done straight-to-streaming service shows like House of Cards or I think I've been told Stranger Things is like this, like where you develop it. You take your time. You're patient. Like I hope that's what they do in the second season, you know?
Or the second half of the first season, the second mini-season.
Chapter 2.
That's another thing. Why not just call them different seasons? I mean, like...
Yeah, I like... The fundamental issue in this is that the writers could not decide on things. They couldn't even decide if this was a season break. Yeah,
they couldn't even decide when the season break was, right? I mean, until a couple weeks ago, they were like, yeah, let's film the next episode or so, which was great. I liked that. This was a great episode to have a hiatus on.
It was.
Right in the prime of the
Definitely
series.
better than ending after the last one.
Very true.
Then,
oh, my, yes.
I liked the idea of the UT, the Universal Translator, as a way of assimilating other cultures by making them accessible to our language and communication. Like, that was basically what Paul was saying. He was like, this is stupid, your thing that you're doing. And then it was kind of weird and interesting that they basically started speaking English. I mean, like, how did that work? We still don't know how that worked. We know kind of.
It's just a narrative it's just narrative contrivance.
Yeah, it's easily explained when you think about the way the Universal Translator worked on every other Star Trek series.
I mean, basically, it sounded like it was translating through the communicator for her, but then it stopped, and she started just hearing them. So, I mean, they kind of halfway gave an explanation, and then they were like, but how does it work after this? I guess we're not going to say.
I was glad they switched to English. I mean, the Klingon language is cool. I mean, I'm a linguist, so I think it's cool, but it's a little hard to follow when you have to read those subtitles all the time, and you can't really get much emotion out of their inflection. I do have a question, though. I noticed that in Klingon, they call the planet Pavo. Like, why? What is the source of this name that it's the same in English and in Klingon? Because there's no animals on this planet that can talk.
Right.
So how come it has the same name in both the languages?
Yeah, it's good that they switched. I agree. Also, I mean, they basically, when they were just in Klingon mode, it sounded like no.
We didn't have an extra 10 minutes
knows
for
that joke. That's the joke that basically am homaging to Clay from the Pensky Files. He's really grouchy. I would really love him on this podcast. I've actually discussed with them me being on their podcast and them being on this one. That would be really fun, I think.
That would be fun.
But anyway, so some really cool camera angles with the captain on the bridge when they go to warp. That was really cool. I love the warp effect still.
That was cool.
I like how
I like that it was quiet
behind the chair. Go ahead.
I like the warp effect was quiet. It just happened. Suddenly they're in warp.
Yeah, totally. Let's see. I think the flashbacks and then the scenes with Lorca deserve kind of a rewatch because we don't know exactly, and they're meant to be ambiguous, and that's one of the virtues of the streaming service is that they know that we can rewatch it, so they put stuff in that's deep and it's arcane and kind of difficult to parse through. Let's see. I'm glad they followed up with the Admiral, and she was actually alive. That was cool. Let's see. I cried several times at Stamets mostly. I was like, I felt real empathy for him with his boyfriend, and I loved that they were like, look, very open and just like loving in this episode. That was really cool.
Did you notice that Michael Burnham said that the Klingon bridge is 4 times the size of a Federation ship? Really? Did she say that? That's what she says. That's really big. That's like really big.
Huh.
I think what they meant was that it's 4 times the size of a Federation ship's bridge. That's not what they said. Like the size of a container ship.
Yeah, we'd have to go back and rewatch it for exactly.
What was up with these sensors that they're covered in Federation logos and they shine bright lights, and when you turn them on, they say in English turning on, waiting for communications. It's not very good stealth.
Yeah, there's no stealth. I mean, I guess they were just banking on the ship being big and no one walking by them. I mean, surely no one will. And they've got 4 minutes, right? Once they're in place, 4 maybe 10 minutes, because she placed the first one and then she places the second one. I mean, that was interesting. Let's see. Oh, last comments from Catherine Trendacosta, and then we'll begin to wrap up because I know Tyler, you got to go. She says, always watch Anthony Rapp when he is on screen. No matter what else is going on, he is giving 110%. I almost did a recap of just his face alone, almost an article just on his faces, which is something else to pay attention to. I think he is kind of the best actor here. I mean, especially when Tilly tells accidentally Culvert or whatever the secret, and then he looks at her.
Yeah.
He's got this scowl to end all scowls. And
that was a face I'd legitimately not seen before, and he's made so many so far, so it speaks to his ability, yeah.
I mean, I would totally watch a whole episode of him just going insane in a Starfleet medical facility. I mean, but
me too.
Yeah, I think that's about all I've got in the way of comments and ideas about this. I really want to rewatch it. I have only had the chance to rewatch part of it so far. But it's going to be one that I rewatch with aplomb 2 and 3 times, second and third time. But anyway, final thoughts or any other thoughts that you guys haven't covered that you burning stuff you want to share.
Well, could Lorca be from the Mirror Universe? I've seen this everywhere.
I mean,
he could be, but it doesn't seem necessary.
In the book,
there's too much going on.
In the Shatnerverse novels, there's this really cool idea about how they basically systematically replace people from our universe with people from theirs as a way of insinuating themselves into our universe and like gaining information and like planning the downfall of the Federation and acquiring technology. And so anyway, I mean, I think it's eminently possible and plausible. We need a backstory, and that's pretty easy to put in.
Yeah, just have him say it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I stand by my 10 out of 10 for this. Like, and that's particularly because of the experience of it. Like, I've been adding layers by rewatching all these episodes and really enjoying the subtlety and the depth, and they really went all out in giving us the experience that we wanted. We beat the bad guys, yay! And then we're left with a new and bigger and more interesting problem, both for Stamets on the local level and on the whole crew on the global level. Like, what are we going to do? And what the hell's going on here? So,
yeah, I would give this a 9 out of 10. And the thing that keeps it out of 10 out of 10 range is this, murkiness I was mentioning about Ash Tyler and the fact that they're attempting a very subtle plot without, I think, really being ready for that.
Well, Tyler, what are your thoughts?
I'd give it a 9 or a 6. Yeah, that's a 9. Sorry, I was looking at it the wrong way. I have the same reservations. Also, I think it was Catherine that brought this up, but I also believe it might have been someone else. The fact that they're taking advantage of the fact of it being on a streaming service and they can pretty much do whatever they want, drop F-bombs and show Klingon nipples.
That may be something we should talk about.
May not be the best use of their
service capacity that they've got.
Yeah.
We've got an all-access pass to Klingon nipples.
Star Trek porn. Well, Star Trek porn is now canon. Look at that shit.
Of course it would be.
Anyway, that's probably not the best note to end on this episode. I mean, it was TVMA, so like they let us know ahead of time that was what's going to happen. But anyway, I think it was good. It made me excited about the future. It was really enjoyable and thrilling. It really gripped me in the heart. I think in one of our earlier episodes, I don't know which one, was one of the first like 4 or 5. It was all about empathy and compassion. Oh, the one about the tardigrade. Yeah, the one about the tardigrade where they released it. That's the beating heart of Star Trek is like people feeling things for other people. And if this show can make me feel things for the people on the screen, I think it's doing what it's doing well. And if it's also like giving us good action, good plot, interesting thinking, questions about the nature of the universe and metaphysics, which it did. It made a subtle stab towards making a scientific statement with the Lorca-Stamets conversation about negative mass or whatever. And then what else? Like it's adding subtlety to the characters and to the universe. So I'm satisfied. I'm really satisfied with where Discovery's at, where it's going, and excited to see what happens next.
I'm optimistic. I feel like this alternate universe thing could be like a sort of reboot for a lot of aspects of the series, or at least a new direction.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Like Ash Tyler had a new direction.
He did.
He had a new direction. Yay.
Terrible.
Everyone get it.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've all agreed this is a good episode. We will be, in the next coming weeks, returning to our usual style, finishing out the Borg episodes, and talking about, eventually, the versions of Khan, so that's what we got coming down the pike. Look forward to it. And then eventually also all of the Star Trek movies we're going to be doing, including the new Kelvin timeline stuff. And our plan is to do everything that was ever made in Star Trek. So enjoy it. And thank you, guys. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Richard. And have a great night. Live long and
Always a pleasure. Yeah, thank you.